We've looked at multiplying polynomials by monomial. In this lesson, we'll be multiplying binomials with binomials. Okay, so when you multiply polynomials with monomial, so for example, I have 2x times 3x plus 5. I have something like this. You use the distributive property to multiply to both. So you would get 6x squared plus 10x. Okay, so that's how you multiply monomials with binomials. When you have two binomials, so instead of 2x, let's have 2x plus 1 here, times 3x plus 5. You are basically doing the same thing, but many students tend to make the mistake of just multiplying 2x times 3x, so getting 6x squared, and then doing 1 times 5 and getting 6. Oh, sorry, not 6, 5. Okay, and this is not correct. Okay, you don't just multiply the first ones together and then the last ones together. So how do you multiply two binomials? Basically, it's the same concept as when you multiply monomials. So you distribute this, except you're distributing the whole thing. You're distributing the 2x plus 1 to 3x, and then also to 5. So what you would get is, you'll get 2x plus 1 times 3x plus 2x plus 1 times 5. Okay, so you see what I did here. I've distributed this whole thing to both the 3x and the 5. Okay, and then from here, you'll use the distributive property again to simplify them. So this part would be 6x squared plus 3x. And this part is going to be 10x plus 5. And you'll notice that there's a like term here. 3x and 10x are like terms, so you can combine them together. So your final answer would be 6x squared plus 13x plus 5. So this would be your answer. Okay, so you'll notice when we just multiplied the front numbers, the front terms together, and then the last terms together, you just got this. But when you actually do it properly, you're going to get this. There's going to be a middle term here. Okay, so that's why just multiplying the front terms and the last terms are not going to give you the correct answer. Now, you might notice that you have to distribute 2 times when you do this, right? You're distributing once here, and then you're distributing again here. So to make this overall process a little bit simpler, we have a rule that's called FOIL. Okay, and let me actually write this. Oops. Let me write this vertically so that I can write what each of these mean. So FOIL, F means first, O means outside, I means inside, and L means last. Okay, so I'm going to show you what each of these mean when multiplying binomials. When you look at these two binomials here, this one and this one, let's look at the same two binomials. 2x plus 1 times 3x plus 5. We multiply the first terms together. That's what the F is doing. So the first term is 2x here and 3x here, right? So we do 2x times 3x, which is going to be 6x squared. we do the outside. Outside terms means this one and this one. Okay, these are on the outside. Outside and then inside. Okay, so we multiply the outside terms together. 2x times 5, that's going to equal 10x. And then we multiply the inside terms together. Inside terms, these ones, 1 and 3x. 1 times 3x, which is going to equal 3x. And then the last terms. So the last terms, remember that our first terms were these. These were the first terms. The last terms are going to be these. So last means the second term in each binomial. Okay, so this is the second term and this is the second term. So we're doing 1 times 5, which equals 5. And we just add these together. The only thing that you can add here is this one because they're like terms. So you're going to get 6x squared plus 13x plus 5. And you'll notice that our answer here is exactly the same as what we got before when we distributed. Okay, so this FOIL method might seem a little bit complicated here, but once you get used to it, you can actually even use your head in doing this. Whereas if you're doing distributive rules, you're much more likely to make a mistake because you're going to distribute 2 times. So you have to distribute correctly. Actually, technically speaking, you have to do it 3 times because you're doing once here and then once here and then once here. And each of those times you're distributing, you have to distribute them correctly. Okay, let's do one last example on using FOIL. So if you're not 100% clear on how to use FOIL, I'm hoping that this last example would clear things a little bit. Okay, so let's multiply 2 binomials again. 3x minus 1 times 4x plus 3. Whenever you have a minus sign in the binomial, such as here, it always goes with the number that follows. Okay, so you have to treat this as a negative 1. Okay, so let's try and multiply this. Okay, so using FOIL, the first terms, these are the first terms of both of the binomials. First term. So when you multiply the first terms, you get 3x times 4x, which is 12x squared. The outside terms are the ones on the outside. Okay, so 3x times 3, which is 9x. The inside terms, which are these terms right here. And remember, this is a negative 1, okay, not just a 1. So you're doing negative 1 times 4x. Negative 1 times 4x is going to be negative 4x. And then last terms is going to be this one and this one. Okay, I'm circling the operation with it to see more clearly what signs these numbers are. Okay, so negative 1 times 3, which is negative 3. Oops. Negative 3. Okay, and again, you can combine the outside and the inside terms. These are like terms. So if you combine them, you get 5x. So your answer here would be 12x squared plus 5x minus 3. Okay, so just practice using FOIL. I think once the more you practice with FOIL, you get more comfortable with this. And also remember that if there's a negative sign somewhere in the binomial, it has to go with the number or the term that follows it. So in this case, it was a 1. If there was a minus here, then it would be a negative 3 instead of a positive 3.